When Mazda introduced the CX90 for the first time, I got excited. Finally, something great from Mazda, a great three-row SUV that can really take on some of the biggest competitors right now. And then I got to drive it. I'm not so excited anymore. But I want to start first with the things that I really like about this car. First of all, the design. I actually like this, and generally speaking, Mazda makes beautiful cars, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I think that they do make nice looking vehicles, and this is one of those. It looks really nice. It actually looks like it's worth 200 grand. The front end is aggressive. It's kind of like a bigger CX9. You have amazing looking wheels on the side, which again, this thing really stands out. And then the side profile too looks like a very expensive vehicle. I love the silhouette. I love the top side as well. The chrome finish, not too much chrome. I appreciate that. Even the paint itself looks really good on this thing. The grille, slightly bigger, but it actually fits in perfectly. The headlights are well carved. I like that. Even the interior is something else. It looks really beautiful. They know exactly what they're doing, meaning they use this beautiful color on the inside and make it look like very expensive. You got a massive screen for the infotainment display. We have a full digital cluster now with a different layout. Looks really amazing. We have a heads-up display as well. The steering wheel looks like it came straight from some German car. I like that. Nice design. The interior color, it's a two-tone. Makes it look like a very expensive vehicle. The seats are nice too. It's nice and thick. The padding is thick. It feels nice quality overall. The center console, of course, you have a different shift knob now. We got two cup holders with wireless charging pad and so on. And you get that standard design that you see even in the CX90 where it's like a split armrest you can access on both sides, which is nice. There's a beautiful panoramic roof all the way across to give a bit more brightness on the inside. In the second row, of course, we got that similar design to the CX9 when you have the center armrest, because this only offers 6 seats. And of course, you have the climate unit in the center with heated seats and ventilated seats in the back. And most importantly, it comes with the Bose audio system. There's also a very innovative engine in here. We got a 3.3 liter inline 6, and this time you get the chance to purchase a plug-in hybrid, which of course is new to the lineup because the CX9 doesn't offer that. It also makes more horsepower than some of its competitors. One of them is probably the Infiniti QX60, which makes only less than 300 horsepower. Now, this engine is quite impressive, not just for horsepower, but even the technology involved with it. Now, let's move on to the things that disappointed me the most. First of all, the key fob. This is exactly the same as the CX9 and the rest of the Mazda models. Is this how they're supposed to bring a new model with an old key fob? Or is this just another model added to the current models? If you know what I mean. The next thing is the design. Although overall it looks pretty sexy, the backside is pretty weird. It's a weird shape, the way this thing is designed. Over here, I don't get this. And also, why leave this here? Why not just hide it under that? Just a more refined design. This is so awkward just standing there. There's other options to hide this thing. Now let's move on to the important things. You see, this might look big on the outside, but I'll tell you that it's pretty small on the inside. And that's another thing that disappointed me on top of this thing here. That even if I go all the way up, my head is touching the tailgate. This is not very friendly for me. The cargo space, this is very tiny. The car looks so big on the outside, but so small on the insides. And even if you lift this thing here, there's just a little bit space there. You can put your, I don't know, your coffee or maybe your McDonald's or something like that, because nothing else can fit in there. And then they've completely filled this with stuff that can be moved and maybe expand the space a bit more. But the good news is that, guess what? You got some plugs in here. You have some standard plugs you can use if you go camping. This is nice. And then over to this side over here, these are very helpful. There's no tech features in this. The third row, you can only fold it manually with this lever located here. You do the same thing with that. And then if you want to unfold it, you pull this up, you know, the old-fashioned way. And then the same thing for this. Although it's not automated, I kind of like that it is manual because it's faster and it's easy to use. This is usually the part that I hate about my job. It's getting into the third row of a 3-row SUV, especially when it's as small as this. So let me show you. First of all, you can fold this and then move the seat forward so that you get into the third row. Let's do this. Okay. There is some space here, I think. There we go. Okay. As you can see, there is some space. There is a USB-C port on this side. There's another USB-C port on that side. There's no air vents at the top here for the third row. There's only by your leg. 2 cup holders on this side, 2 cup holders on that side, and this tiny little window, which it's nice. The panoramic roof, it doesn't even get close to the back side. It's only available for the front. So in here feels very dark, I have to say. But space-wise, well, the way I'm sitting should tell you enough. Now, let's try to get into the third row. The good news is that let's try to get into the second. Hold on. Let's try and get into the second row, and let's talk about the space in there too. The good news is that when you move forward, you actually get more space. I ruined my hair. But the hardest part is coming out of this thing. Okay, where do I grab? Oh, over here. There you go. And there's no power seats in here. These are all manually adjustable. So I don't mind that because it's faster. Okay, I think I'm out. Yeah, that's tight. I know what you're thinking, and it is tight. Now, the good news is that the second row, it's not that bad. But the problem is that with this top trim, you only get 6 seats. So you got 2 in the back, and 2 in here, and 2 in the front. So you don't get 7 seats like most SUVs. The good news is that you get nice leather interior with this Alcantara finish, and you can adjust the seats in the second row back and forth. You can do that. You can also fold it, but you can't fold it completely. Hence why it's difficult getting into the third row. Now, the second row, on the other hand, it's spacious, but not the most spacious or what you expect it to be for the size of this vehicle, because it looks so big on the outside and you think it must be very spacious on the inside. You think that you're going to get more space in here, but you're not getting that much space. There's only 2 air vents located in the center here, but thankfully you have a climate unit. But this should have more air vents because you want to get a bit more heat inside. And I don't see any vents around this area. There's only in the center. There's nothing up here or up there, which again, it's not going to be very nice during hot days or very cold days. 2 cup holders in here. The armrest is nice. It's split, so you get access to from both sides, which again, it's very similar to what the CX9 offers. And that's why I said this is not too new for me. It's pretty much just a slightly different CX9. Another problem I have with this CX90 is the build quality, and specifically the doors. They just don't feel the same as every other Mazda I've driven. They feel very clumsy and very soft and very light, like as if it's not a good quality. The first row, second row, just doesn't feel as sturdy as you would expect it to be. Although this looks really nice and probably to your eyes looks very luxurious, and it does, the first impression you get in. But someone that drives these cars a lot, I can tell you that this is not new. In fact, a lot of things here are pretty much the same as every other Mazda out there. Like, for example, the buttons on the steering wheel, pretty much like the CX-9. Then you have the buttons over here for your climate, for your heated seats and so on, very much the same as the CX-9. The only thing that is slightly different here is this gear knob, which can be used totally differently in comparison to other Mazdas, which is like a straight one. This is... Even the chime, it's pretty much the same as a CX-9. Okay, it's finished. And then you go into reverse, you're going to drive, reverse, and into P. It's kind of like a manual shift, which is nice. I like the fact that it's not a button like every other car out there, but everything in here is very similar. The next problem I have with this is the fact that the wireless charging pad, it doesn't have any padding. The wireless charging pad doesn't have any padding, which holds the phone so it doesn't slide left and right. In fact, my phone connects and disconnects every 2 seconds in here because it doesn't keep the phone tight, could say. Like in one position, it slides, especially when you're driving in bumpy areas. My phone kept disconnecting today from the wireless charging pad, and it's so small. Mazda should realize that phones now are getting bigger and bigger every year. They're making bigger screens. It does have different driving modes, which is nice. You got your normal, your sport, your off-road, something I've seen before. The center unit over here is very similar. But here's the weirdest parts. The armrest in the second row is far bigger than the armrest in the front. Not necessarily this area. I'm talking about this area here. There's very little space. I can only fit this. This is a family SUV. You'd expect it to have a bit more space on the inside. The next thing I want to talk about is something that I wasn't the only one to notice it. Of course, my camera guy noticed because he's a photographer, a videographer, and he realized that the infotainment display has some weird things. So let me show you quickly. The infotainment screen is massive. It's probably one of the biggest offered by Mazda, which is nice. And of course, it's pretty clear. But what's not clear is the user interface. You see, these icons that you see here are technically imported from other Mazda vehicles. So it's something very familiar. If you have a 2022 model, CX-9 for example, or the CX-5, you'll notice that right away. But the disappointing part is the way they've designed this specific user interface. It feels like they took it from the other models and just sort of like enlarged it a bit, but not done properly. Because if you look carefully, the icon of navigation, it's so, well, let's just say it has imperfections everywhere. It doesn't look nice. Communications, it's okay. This looks sharp. Then you go into entertainment, the same thing over here, and then information you can see on this side. Now, you're probably thinking, Sam, these are little things that nobody cares. Well, when you pay a lot of money for this thing, you do care about this, because these little things like that you see, well, these are not good for the eye every time you stare at them. And just as my teammate here said, they take away from that experience of the entire car, which again doesn't feel great. These little things they forgot about as kind of like a last minute. And of course, this is the exact same infotainment display as the other ones, which means you don't get a touchscreen option here. Let's do a quick launch control to test out this new engine. Okay, just 1500 RPM, that's it. The sound is 100% coming out of the speakers, because this thing sounds like a Porsche from the back. That deep exhaust note that doesn't make any sense from this 3.3 liter thing. It's definitely coming out of the speakers. It's pumped through the speakers, which not a big fan of it, generally speaking. I had it on my Focus RS and it wasn't a good feeling sometimes. Let's talk about how this thing drives. Now, I'm going to give this to Mazda. They have done a great job, and they always do, in fact, with the cabin noise. It's so well isolated, you don't hear anything on the outside. In fact, there was a truck passing by today that I couldn't even hear when I was parked. Even right now, as cars are passing very close to me, I don't hear them at all. It's well isolated. And one reason is because that thick glass that is installed in the windshield and of course the actual side windows. They've done a great job on that. I'll give it to Mazda. I appreciate a car that feels quiet on the inside, especially a car like this. We're not talking about sports cars, but this one, a family SUV. The power delivery is there. The transmission feels like it's getting suffocated for some reason. It's like, whoa. Not smooth, very smooth shifting. The ride quality. Well, in normal mode and in sport mode, it feels about the same. It's a bit stiff though, I have to say. It feels a bit stiff. When I was on a highway, I didn't feel it that much. In here, in this road, I feel it. I feel it quite a lot. You have the driver assistant package as well, keep you within the lanes, gap assist, which is nice. We have the hands-up display, which is very helpful in some cases, which also displays the driver assistant package too. Being inside here feels nice, and the reason is very simple. It has the right colors on the interior to give you a different impression of a bit more luxurious. If this was entire black, you wouldn't notice the difference that much, or you wouldn't feel the same way. It's the colors that make the difference. Even on the outside, I'll have to say that because it has this beautiful color, it looks amazing in some areas. Let's just say in a certain profile, it looks really good. The backside, I was looking at the rollers. This thing, it's not good at all. Like, in my opinion, this is an ugly car from the back, an ugly SUV that I don't really like from the back. The front looks aggressive, I like it. The back that has a very weird shape. It's like, I can't explain it. And here's the thing though, photos can be very deceiving. Videos is where you see this thing. Just the way that the video captures the backside of it. I'm not enjoying the backside, and I thought I was gonna like this thing so much. I was excited to drive it. I was excited to see it. I thought this was gonna be something totally different because it looked amazing in pictures. And now that I've driven it and seen it and sat in it, honestly just doesn't feel that exciting anymore. There's a few reasons besides the fact that it's not good looking from the back. I expected this to be bigger on the inside, like very little space behind the third row. The towing is not the best in class. It tows up to like 5,000 pounds. Meanwhile, the Nissan Pathfinder or the Infiniti QX60 up to 6,000 pounds. And you're paying a lot of money for this car. So let's talk about how much you're going to pay for this thing, whether you live in the US and in Canada, and how different it is from the other competitors. Okay, let's talk about the pricing. And first, we're going to start with a comparison to the Hyundai Palisade, which is one of its competitors. And we're going to talk about the top trims. The Mazda CX90 in Canada starts at about $65,000, $66,000. The Ultimate Calligraphy Palisade in Canada with additional fees starts at $59,000. So you're looking at about $6,000 difference. Does that mean that the CX90 offers more tech features? Not really. In this case, the Ultimate Calligraphy, even though it's way less money than the CX90, offers quite a lot of tech features that you're missing in the CX90. So for example, you have your blind view monitor, you have your auto leveling rear suspension, electronic rear view mirror with full digital display, you have your rear seats quiet modes, which basically plays the music in the front, doesn't disturb the people in the back, and you have your intercom with driver talk, which makes you not raise your voice if you are the driver, if you want to speak to the people into the third row. Another thing that shocked me with the Mazda CX90 is the fact that it didn't have any driver's leg cushion extension. Then you have 8-way power passenger seats for the ultimate calligraphy. On top of that, you have the 4-way power driver's lumbar support. And the last part about the Mazda is the fact that in comparison to the Hyundai Palisade, Mazda only offers 3 years of roadside assistance. Meanwhile, Hyundai offers up to 5 years with unlimited kilometers. The competition out there right now for this segment is fierce. You got cars like the Palisade, the calligraphy one is loaded, and you get so much for the money. Same thing with the Kia Tellurides. If you're looking into like tech features, it's also space. I expected this to be more spacious on the inside, and it's not. Especially the third row. And even the second row, it's not as roomy. In fact, I can't even tell the difference because I reviewed the CX-9 recently. I can't tell the difference between this and that. And that's another question we should be asking. Why buy this over the CX-9? Like, that's going to be a lot of less money in comparison to this. They kind of look the same on the insides. Maybe you don't like the outside of the CX-9s, and that could be one reason. But in my books, I just think there's better out there than this. I'm not very impressed with this car. Yeah, that's disappointing.